when the reality came smacking us in the face, it really showed that, like, you know.
So speaking about craft beer, right? Because I remember when all of this was kind of going down, like I was speaking also to, potential like silent investors like for you too.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to say any names because they like to stay quite silent. But, one of the main things that kind of came up was, I don't know, the craft beer bubble is like here.
Oh, good. This is good. Yeah.
Right.
Perfect.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the bubble's here. I think it's done. I think the push is done. And that was 5 years ago. And look now. You've got Smart Mouth that opened up in Norfolk. They've got a pilot house down here. You've got Vail getting ready to move into the area. Green Flash is out, but New Realm's in. Sweetwater is on the other side just right on the other side of the border. All the different other small breweries that are around too.
Right.
My question really kind of about this is the craft beer bubble over? Because I see this place kind of like a mini San Diego. You know what I mean? When San Diego, I think they have like 150 breweries per like 5 square mile radius. Steve, it
was something like I remember I was bartending and I was at Gordon Biersch, which is a brewery,
in San Diego.
I had but it's a big tourist driven town, so I get people at the bar and they're like, yeah, we're gonna go brewery hopping. How many breweries are there in San Diego? And I was mistaken, and I told them, and I was like, oh, it's kind of one of the brewery capitals of the world, and I want to say there's 95 breweries in a 7-mile radius. And then I look over and I see my head brewer. He just kind of leans on over and looks at me. He goes, "It's actually 130 in a 5-mile radius." and I mean, this was back in 2015, 2014.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how many more there are now, let alone standalone restaurants that have a microbrewery, etc. So yeah, Patrick, do you know what the count is out here for like Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads?
I know because as a distributor association, we have a great relationship with our craft brewers guild, which is good. We don't always see things eye to eye, but that's okay too because we run 2 different types of businesses.
Yep.
But at least we understand everyone's perspective. Last year, the count was just under 240, so 236, 238 in Virginia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that has grown like 3-fold in the past 5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So where do you see it going in another 5 years, let's say?
See, the part that I find interesting, it's really different than the first wave that Chris spoke of. And out of that wave, we got to remember that created Boston Beer Company with Jim Cook and Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
So there are some great brands that came out of that first wave, and there are some ones that didn't make it. I remember Pete's Wicked Ale had a strawberry blonde.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That they sold a lot of back in the day, but they're no longer around.
Right.
I think there's 2 big differences this go around. One being, I think they make better beer.
Oh, yeah.
Collectively than the group did the first go around.
Right.
Okay.
The consumers are much more educated than we were 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
People do their homework now, and you got the information on an iPhone or an Android, and you can find out about a beer in a matter of seconds.
Oh, yeah, everything about it.
Before you order it. And then there's just different tiers. I mean, each one of our neighborhoods probably has one in biking distance.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say so.
Whereas before, you just didn't have that attachment to the local community. It was Boston Beer Company brewed in Boston or Sierra Nevada brewed in California. Now it's
Down the street.
Chris's beer brewed down the street.
Yeah.
Which sells, right? We talked about this on the first episode.
Yeah.
The us being a resort town and us having so many transient guests with the military that's here. Shout out to the military. When people come here from different places, they want to know what's from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that is like a huge selling point, especially when even in other areas, but specifically talking about Hampton Roads, when people come here, we have history, we have culture. Jamestown is right up the road. In Norfolk, NOB,
Williamsburg.
yeah, NOB is the largest naval base in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Virginia Beach is the number 2 drinking city in the United States.
I would second that.
That was Norfolk. That was
Norfolk?
That was Norfolk.
Oh,
Yeah, that was Norfolk. That was about 3 years ago or something like that. But, good for them.
We need to be at number 1, guys. Just
We're something. Edgar Casey, I mean, I don't, it's not my thing, but he said we're the safest city in the world. So, out of psychic ability that he had, that I'm not somebody that promotes that idea, but I know that he said that.
I would say there's a reason why
But I feel that way
why we have so many
sometimes.
military bases here. I mean, I feel safe.
Well, even with the storms, I'm like, well, maybe this guy's onto something. I remember, what was it, Isabel was this big. Oh, that's my daughter's name, though. That's pretty cool. But Isabel had come by, back in 2000. Anyway, but you can Google it. But it had come by and just kind of brushed us, and then smacked down on Richmond. You know what I mean?
Side note,
almost like we had like a little force field here.
Right. Well, like that, kind of like the storm last year that was coming directly out of Category 4, and then took a hard left and ended up in fucking South Carolina.
Yeah, what's
like,
that?
What the?
Yeah, it's
you know?
unreal.
Yeah. Anyway, so I like Virginia Beach. You want to move here? You should.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
It's got
Great
a lot
people.
of things. Great people, great weather. Great beer.
Looking like we're gonna have a great festival every year now too. From what it seemed, from a couple weeks ago.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Speaking of something in the water, you guys are probably slammed for that. Are you guys busy?
It was a great week.
We sold 5 million cases that weekend.
Great week, a lot of hard work, and it was nice the way the communities came together.
Oh, yeah.
I really got a kick out of listening to some of the interviews from the different news stations, with just how the I'll throw it out there, millennials took pride in having something that was our own here in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got a quick question for you, too, as well, Patrick. So with the emergence of all these craft brews, have you seen a slowdown in the ordering of, let's say, more domestic beers, such as Coors Light, Bud Light, Miller Lite, etc.?
See, that's a great question, and this is not necessarily due to craft beers, but we've seen a slowdown in what we call domestic premium, so Miller Lite, Coors Light, Bud Light, but that's taken place really before craft beers have kind of surged. What's really happened as the demographics have changed and the baby boomers have retired or drink less, when you look at someone, I'll say your ages, since I'm a little older than these three handsome gentlemen sitting in front of me.
This is fish oil. You don't know how old I am.
That lighting's just really getting here, y'all.
But in college, we'd get a 30-pack of brand X, and that's what you would drink. And now people are drinking imports and crafts. People drink premiumization is taking place because people... whether it's that badge of honor or the quality of the liquid, and you see it across wines and spirits as well. So when you have a tendency to buy something that's $20 versus 10, we probably don't buy as much.
Right, you appreciate it a little more.
Exactly.
Because I remember back in college when I used to buy the things that weren't that. Because in college you don't really make, and shout out to ODU, right up the road, but, you're not really making money, in college, so you're really kind of just trying to, stretch that dollar as much as you can. So you got the
We got the 30-pack of Natty Light for $9.99. I definitely lived off that.
We're like beer connoisseurs, Bush and Bush.
I was going to say Bush Light was our
Labatt's.
20, 21. I mean, 21. You know what I mean?
I remember the first craft beer that I ever had. I was at a college party, and the guy had a 6-stole of I think it was like Dogfish Head, like 60 minute. And this is before my oh my god, so many like random taste aversions. You know what I mean? Like I'd not developed my palate had not developed yet.
Right.
He's like, oh man, I'm so stoked. I got this IPA, Dogfish Head 60 minute, and I'm like, sounds. Oh my god, you're selling it to me. This is gonna be great.
I think so exactly what you're saying right now. I remember this is. I mean, showing my age a little bit, but back when like 94 or 95, like going to like high school parties. There were kids there that would go. They were getting their either their dad or older brother or uncle to go get them a pick your own 6-pack, which would have like Samuel Adams cherry wheat in there. Which this was back in that first run of like all these craft beers. But they would show up to the party, and I'm drinking either Rolling Rock or like fucking Ice House. Which I'm not very. I'm not gonna be happy about it, but that's what I had at the time. I was 14.
Proud.
I'm not proud of that. I was 15. I didn't know. But they would have these beers, and it kind of set them aside from everybody else. And it kind of like it was something that defined them. You know what I mean? And you would see that and go like, well, I want like a special beer other than Ice House or Rolling Rock. You know what I mean? So I think that was my first experience with craft.
So I tried it. Right, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be sick. Dogfish Head, it's in a keg.
It's
the whole
IPA.
nine. Yeah, it's a heavy jump. Just a heads up,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like if you want to be tour guided through beers, right, and you are a light beer drinker, you're a lager drinker, don't jump directly into like an IPA with so many that piney hoppy. So I did that, and you can imagine how it worked out.
Not a fan.
It didn't. No, not at all. Yeah. But I knew how much he paid for the keg, so I couldn't throw it away. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was just so against it for probably the remainder of college until my palate was able to expand too. I just remember those days.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, even for me, like, so even that, going back to that conversation of brewing beer, at that point in my life, as far as craft beer drinking, I would drink stouts, on occasion, especially when it's cold outside, but really just like amber ales and stuff like that. So when we were brewing IPAs, I wasn't like a fan of the idea, but I knew that we had to do it. And then something happened in that 2 years where that's all I drink now is IPAs. I don't know what happened. There's something they say is like, once you start, it's like people that eat hot sauce, you know what I mean? They just start putting it on everything, and then they never stop. You know what I mean? It's this kind of thing with IPAs.
Yeah.
I'm like, and hot sauce.
When you're trying new things, like what helps you kind of open your mind a little bit is just a little bit of education. So back when Evan, when me and you were working at the Yard House, and I had that opportunity to learn about all of those beers and learn about the profiles and everything that kind of went into them, and because they give just crazy. Not like crazy education.
Yeah. That's what I love about you coming here talking about the beer industry. It's awesome. I love history just in general.
Be like a better appreciation for the craft.
Yeah.
To where maybe it might take that person out of their regular mindset of, well, this is what I drink.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
it goes deeper than it's just a product.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because your dad drank Coors Light all of his life doesn't mean that you have to. You know what I mean? Like you can go out. There's different ways you can like branch out to.
So on that note, Patrick, is there any specific drink that if you had, your choice to have, your last drink, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Because I've had my fair share of Ice House.
Hey, yeah. Look, and I had a lot of great times with that Ice House. And I'm not knocking it by any means, but I just know now that I probably couldn't drink.
I dated the girl on the moon with Miller High Life.
Yeah.
When
I was there
up.
with you. Miller High Life, yeah.
My go-tos would be Coors Light and Blue Moon.
Yeah,
nice.
Okay.
But one of the things is I like to drink around.
Yeah.
So when I go, and whenever I go into a bar or restaurant, I sit at the bar.
Yeah.
My wife.
Good man.
She gets it, understands it.
And that's what we're here talking about. Yep.
And when you do that, you get to meet wonderful people like yourselves and learn about what's going on. So before I answer the question, as you guys describe what you do as being in the trenches, well, that's where the work is done. And quite frankly, that's where the knowledge is. Yeah. So when I get the opportunity to meet people like yourselves and, I soak that knowledge up. So either it's Coors Light or Blue Moon, but if you fast forward to what's happening today, I don't know how many people have tried a hard seltzer. A White Claw or a Truly.
They've been winning me over. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not going to lie. I was,
They've got me.
Yeah, I had one last night.
Yeah, they're in my fridge. They're just light, drinkable, 5 point ABV, and it will get you there.
Especially when it's smooth and you're not having one or two.
They are sneaky, man.
And they make you
They
feel
are
good.
sneaky, yeah.
But that's the cool thing about the beer business. The industry is always keeping up with what's happening with the consumer and the consumer's taste buds. We talked about the IPA waves and what's taking share from the American domestic products. It's innovation like that. So I'm also a Goza drinker.
There you go.
I love a good Goza or a sour beer. I'm not going to drink them all night long, but if I'm having a 6-pack, I can definitely stick 1 or 2.
Yeah,
in
that
there.
sounds awesome. On that note, so what you were talking about with the trends and bringing up the seltzers. So do you guys have a line of seltzers that you guys do right now with Chesbay?
We actually do. We have the 2 industry leaders in White Claw and Truly, and
man.
they are crushing it.
Hard hitting. Yeah. So this, I didn't even do research about this for today specifically, but I was looking into this just because I was curious a little bit back. But there was a guy that started this. I think it was either the White Claw but the idea was it started from him sitting at a bar all the time and seeing girls walk up and order vodka sodas. And he was like...
with a splash of cranberry,
and it's just like, with a splash of cranberry or just a splash of juice. And so he was, I think it was in a college town in Boston, if I'm not mistaken, but the light bulb went off after, the 100th time he sat in that bar, and this girl, he's like, we should just make seltzer water with alcohol in it and just give us some sort of flavor. And then this industry now has like doubled in size in the past, year and a half, 2 years?
That's right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that simple idea. You know the story.
Yeah, and then what's neat though is you look at like the trends, even outside of the, alcohol or, you look at the dieting trends. So people are now going like, all right, maybe I had too many IPAs. This is like eating a loaf of bread every time I drink 2 of these things. So, you're going up to these like keto things and, low carb things. And so it gives rise to the opportunity for something like Truly and White Claw to just
Oh, that's it.
explode.
You'll hear people in the industry, they'll refer to it as the wellness category.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
take a hard seltzer